Alright, so I just figured I'd make a morning video about various things. I haven't had a chance to make videos very much lately. Um, so, just various things. I mean, one, the bully thing's interesting, and some people are like, snake is this and snake is that. I mean, I don't feel like I have enough information to make a personal judgment on Snake. I mean, when I first saw him, I did not expect him to get butthurt about being called on his feminism. I suspected something more like, well, you might be right, but blah, 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 and these people bug me that much. Or some acknowledgement that maybe there's somebody else with the point, or that, and I didn't expect it to be the thorough, no, the pendulum is too far, kind of, and being butthurt. I did, but whatever, even that. Okay, so it's a wrestling match for some people. It's a lot about getting to wear the costume and the bravado, it's like masked wrestling. So that's okay, it's like, there's an infinite number of sports, and we're all just put on the same field, go! But I know I don't like this message of supporting bullying, and if that's his act, then I think he should get feedback on his act that, pretends to take it seriously, so to speak. He does seem consistently now coming down on the, bully apologist side of things, and being willing to be seen as a bully and all of this. Trying to tease someone for failed suicide attempts and things like that. But it's obviously also a front. I mean, Tesseracts and rats and Star Wars toys. Come on, this is one of us. I don't know why he's so bitter. If he gets over it, we'll find out. That's true. I'm a sweetheart. I give my rats kisses in the morning. It's true. We drink wine together. Integral math is interesting for various reasons. I think it's interesting for a gay man to be, sorry that this is somewhat stereotype invoking, not stereotype invoking, but label involving. An anti-feminist or MRA or however you categorize or refuse, whatever, I don't know, critic of feminism as being gay, because a lot, like the first MRAs I saw on YouTube, they were definitely of the, Lonely Hearts Club MRA, which to me is not an insult. I sympathize with that. When people couldn't figure out the system. Sometimes it's because they've been trying to act a role that women don't really want, or they don't realize women are individuals enough, or they're just nervous, or they're just... Okay, but that's obviously not the whole issue, and I've been through issues. There are men's issues, okay? And I think we could look at them as gender issues and realize, hey, medical issues that only affect one sex are actually part of the same sort of activism. Let's make sure we do those tests for both men and women. Let's not forget one or the other. Not study, But anyway, those Lonely Hearts Club MRAs, they're really in this situation of, you can't live with them, you can't live without them. Love-hate maybe driven extreme to the worship demonized level of love-hate. It's just interesting homosexual man's not in that position, and yet integralmath is a smart dude, and so he knows, well, you need women to procreate or something. I don't think he's an antinatalist, but it's an interesting dynamic on it. I also like it because he's not totally obsessed by it. He has other little, I like the eclecticness of his channel. And also he does often nice brief videos, which I like. But I've seen that he's done, I'm not sure I've watched any of them. Well, I think I've watched at least one of them. But it seems in the past he's done these. If they were popping up now, I'd probably watch them. But, do a mathematical proof or something. Or his legal take on Scalia is interesting. So that's also interesting, seeing how, how he accords his. I haven't really got his view on same-sex marriage. I'm not going to assume he's for it, but I think he's for it. But he defends Scalia's take, a traditionalist take, and it's like people need to pass the anti-doma. In other words, he's carrying a position, and frankly it's true. I mean, I don't like Scalia, but I hate demonization. And the fact is, people, like, it's disgusting for me to hear Scalia implying that, well, the founding fathers didn't like gay people, so we don't have to. But part of the point is just that there are certain things in domain that we're not going to, no minority can figure out the right or wrong of it. We need our legislative system to put its, toe in the water and say, here's how we want to do it, and then we see the ramifications. And, the courts are there to see what's already legal and illegal. Now, in the case of marriage, I think it's crazy, because marriage is a social construct, a governmental construct rather. It gives certain material benefits. Now, whether getting married in a church does or not, I don't know. I don't particularly think so. But when recognized by the government, there are certain benefits, and benefits that you can't really get other ways very easily, at least. So yeah, I think that it's always been unconstitutional in some sense, but we just didn't realize it because of our social. I hate when you open the door for the cat and then they're like, "What? You were just scratching on the door." Yeah, well, it's open now. Now I want to look. So anyway. But it is an interesting argument. You talk about the changing attitudes and which parts of the law, and I think, yeah, we didn't recognize that as a natural thing that's going to naturally happen, and people would be in that situation. They looked at it more like people choosing to become a criminal. They chose to have homosexual feelings. Well, we literally know better now. We literally have more science. It's not just the biases of the religions. It's like we literally have more material knowledge about this situation. And so it becomes clear that a right to a partnership does need to be granted for them. And if that breaks our traditional idea of marriage, then so be it. I think that we should just understand there's some importance to that word for some people. I'm not that concerned about that. I think the government shouldn't do marriages at all. It should do civil unions. The requirement should be that you're a roommate. That's right, just a roommate. Just a roommate, and you could have every level of civil union. I trust this person to go to access my bank account when I'm incapacitated, to get me money, to pay the hospital, or I want this person to choose my life support, or I don't. But as soon as you live together, there's a potential intimate thing, and I know these days with the price of real estate and housing, people live their whole life with roommates in the city. And often single people, but I imagine it'll be this way with families. So, yeah, those people need to be in civil unions. They share their costs. They may know each other better than their family, which is part of their nuclear family, but they haven't lived with for 15 years on the other side of the country, or they don't even know them. You need marriage to sort of rewrite some of the assumptions of the legal system. Who's going to decide whether to turn your machines on and off in the hospital? Another thing happened was, I went into Gary's room, saw his video. He didn't remember why he had kicked me. But what it was is, he left the room, and this dude was getting in the conversation, or trying to. I wasn't really following it. He's Polish. So there's always a topic with people from around the world, is like, what's it like there? So I was grilling him a little bit. What's it like? What do you think the politics? Gary came back, it's like, this is stupid. It was funny because it was I always do this. I always ask people about their state, anything like that. Especially if they're bringing up stuff that seem to really, I can't figure out how to place it in what the other conversation. I'll happily turn the conversation to what it's like in Romania.
And I had done this with Christina when I was first meeting her. I remember, I think it was a similar thing. Gary leaves, and I'm like, okay, what's the topic? Hey, what's it like in Romania? It's like, what's the weather like? You know, you can find that out. Gary came back. He's all, well, you can't find out. Go to Wikipedia if you want to find out about Poland. I've been to the Wikipedia. And then also I ask people, I've been doing this my whole life. It helps. I mean, I'm sure it helps. I mean, you guys are all watching about Pakistan on the news. Well, if you were keeping your eyes open, you might have met a few dozen Pakistanis. You might have met people from around the world. You'd be surprised who you may have met from all around the world. But you know, I've come to realize that thing, running a room like that, is sort of a pain in the ass. It's not sort of, it is a pain in the ass. And to get it going and stuff, you know, it takes hours and hours. And now, Gary's been doing it so long, people show up on time. But even so, you kind of, you know, if he wasn't there for 5-6 hours at least, often longer, then I think, well, I don't know if it's often longer. A big chunk of time is my point. Fuck. Anyway, he's the master of ceremonies. It's not easy. You have to do that. You have to say, well, that's not the topic, or let this person speak. And I would respect that, okay? The problem is, you know, he gets really mad. He says, we don't need to talk stupid. Nobody cares about it. On the other hand, I said, oh, okay, well, you know, you're the master of ceremonies. That's fine. But, you know, don't act like it's stupid. It is important what's going on in Poland. If it's not the topic right now, fine. But then he went on this big tirade that was actually embarrassing to hear. Well, there's a dude from Poland right there. And dude from Poland's all like, I'm sorry. I was talking about Poland, which was my fault. I was asking him about it. And so I just told Gary he was a bigot because that was too much, and then he kicked me. But I think what would be good is it is hard to like quiet down, especially with Gary as the MC, because he's going to make his parting shot. I think what you should do, Gary, is you make your statement. Here's how it's going to be. Let them have one rebuttal. And if you want to say something else to them, then you don't get to kick them. But what would be even better is if you didn't have to kick people. Those rooms, if I build one, there's got to be a silence someone. You know, turn off, you know, cut their mic, turn it back on when they've calmed down or when they're not trying to take over the subject or whatever. You have to control these rooms or it's a mess. It's not like you can't possibly get away with not blocking people for a long period of time like you can on a video channel and just kind of ignore them. I mean, because the sound space is shared. And you don't really have control over the other people's mics. It's either kick them or not. So, but there ought to be some middle ground. I mean, for my part, I will respect the request that I don't have the floor right now. He was also got mad, but this I just left at this point, and then came back later. But he took me as defending Google. Well, I wasn't. I was explaining why I use Chrome. One thing is I'm developing. I'd use everything. I'd probably even run IE a little if I had a machine that could run it. But I do use Chrome and Firefox, and it goes back and forth which one is more stable. Or, for a while, Chrome has been faster running JavaScript, and for a while it's been more stable, but it isn't for me right now, and that's how the conversation came up. It crashed in TinyChat. And then I said, yeah, I think that, you know, Google will try to capture stuff, but the thing about using Chrome is it's very good about using the W3C standards. And then he went off on this thing. I mean, Gary just thinks that the site is sold out, and why don't they do a standard from the start? They did, and then people find they want to add something that isn't in the standard, like a scripting language. I mean, originally it was just supposed to be a document, then we add a scripting language to it. You know, Netscape just added JavaScript. How is that supposed to go straight in the standard? It wasn't good enough to put in the standard, so everybody chases that, and the W3C is there trying to go, no, let's have a standard, let's have a standard. Eventually they do it, eventually people adopt it. And it gives you a certain amount of independence. You don't have to trust Microsoft as much if they create something that fits standards as you do when they don't, right? So Google, for all its faults or strengths or whatever, it tends to use the standards. So Chrome is using W3C standards. And that's what I was defending, was the W3C. I mean, Gary's, I don't get Gary. He works, he programs, he sees how hard it is, and then something breaks, or you do it and it didn't quite work. No, 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 no. Well, that's how all programming is. They can't just, why didn't they just define HTML5 back in 1990? Jesus, what a waste of time. Well, there were people, and the standards shouldn't just be followed either. Sometimes the standards suck, right? It's definitely not been the scientists and the governments that got the net sold out. Now, there's individuals. Mark Andreessen, I'm not a big fan of him. I think he ripped off the government, basically, taking his publicly funded product private. But overall, and blaming people like Vince Cerf, no, 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 no. These are the people that are strong in the Electronic Frontier Foundation. These are the people that have helped popularize this idea, you know, this phrase net neutrality. Gary sometimes doesn't know where to direct his anger, I think. Oh, that seems like enough, huh?